Hello BookTube. In this video, assuming I can ever actually film it, I'm going to be ranking the Miss Marple novels. In 2018, I read all of the Miss Marple novels one a month, except for, I think the second to last one, Nemesis. I think I read that the first week of December, and then Sleeping Murder the last week of December, since I devoted November to my first nonfiction November. So anyway, I've read all of the Miss Marple novels. There are fortunately 12, so it's a good, reasonable number compared to like Poirot, which has significantly more novels than that. So I will do this in ascending order. I will begin with my number 12, and I will end with number 1. So number 12 is 450 from Paddington. It's okay. Generally, there are very few Agatha Christie novels that are bad. I think this one's the weakest of the Marple ones, in large part because too much attention is devoted to which of the sons of the family that's being investigated. So basically, a friend of Miss Marple's claimed she saw a man strangling a woman on the 450 from Paddington. And if the man disposed of the body, the best place would have been at this particular property. And so Miss Marple sends a friend of hers to be her eyes on the ground and collect the evidence for her, and then report back to Miss Marple. Two of the sons of the family and one of widow of one of the daughters, basically everybody is in love with her, and it is ridiculous, and it kind of wrecks the book, I think, the novel, to a degree. Number 11 is They Do It With Mirrors, which again is a perfectly fine novel. The mystery is really good. I just think it's the secondary mystery, or basically in this one, excuse me, there's obviously the murders, and then there are other crimes. The other crimes are actually far more interesting than the murders are, but it's a perfectly fine mystery. Although, maybe again, the romance does maybe not quite make as much sense as some of the other ones do. So my number 10 is A Caribbean Mystery. I think, as I mentioned in a comment to one of Steve Donahue's videos, A Caribbean Mystery is Miss Marple not necessarily on her game. After a certain point in time, you kind of you realize fairly soon who the murderer is, and that why Miss Marple never realized it sooner is a bit annoying, I think. Number 9 is At Bertram's Hotel, which, again, much like They Do It With Mirrors, the secondary crimes are far more interesting than the actual murder. Number 8 is The Moving Finger. It's a perfectly good mystery. It's really actually fantastic. It's just either it needed more Miss Marple, and I think the film adaptations, particularly the one with Joan Hickson, does it really does a better job of incorporating her earlier in the story. Or just delete her entirely and have the narrator be the detective too. Number 7 is Sleeping Murder, where it's a really good novel. I needed one for this position. Number 6 is Murder at the Vicarage, which is fantastic, although it does suffer a bit from early installment weirdness. It has a first-person narrator, and while the narrator is pretty interesting, and there's a lot of bits about St. Mary Mead, Miss Marple, her circle of friends that don't quite work in the later books, or aren't quite there in the later books. Number 5, I think, is Nemesis, which is the one of the last novels that Agatha Christie wrote before her death. Sleeping Murder, which was published posthumously, was written in the 40s, whereas Nemesis would have been written in the early 70s. This one is fantastic. This one is Miss Marple on her A game. It is fantastic. And quite pleased that, having read 10 other Miss Marple novels, that I was still very much game for this one. It's just fantastic. Number 4, I think, is The Mirror Cracked. This one is fantastic, particularly in how Agatha Christie touches on the changes that are coming into St. Mary Mead and Miss Marple's reaction to it, and just how St. Mary Mead has changed since Murder at the Vicarage and The Body in the Library. It's fantastic. Number 3 is A Murder is Announced, which is a very interesting problem, very interesting characters, and probably is one of my 2 personal favorites of the Miss Marple novels. Number 2 is A Pocket Full of Rye, which, again, this is my personal favorite Miss Marple novel. I want to say it's probably the first of the adaptations starring Joan Hickson that I saw, and I think that always had a powerful effect on me. Particularly, I enjoyed the characters of Lance Fortescue, Mary Dove, just very interesting. And with Pocket Full of Rye and A Murder is Announced, the adaptations, I think, do play a certain role in these 2 being my favorites. Obviously, Lance Fortescue, and which I forget the actors who played him, and then Christian Coulson's stint as Edmund Swettenham in Murder is Announced. Anyway, and then the one I think is probably the best Miss Marple novel is The Body in the Library, the second Miss Marple novel. It is a really fine, wonderful mystery with a very ingenious solution. And I've enjoyed the adaptations and all of that. So that was a quick rundown of my rankings of the Miss Marple novels. I'm thinking this is probably going to be the only dedicated sort of March Mystery Madness thing I'm going to be doing. Yeah. So anyway, so tomorrow I'm hoping I'll do 2 tags. One of which hopefully, excuse me, might be an original tag. So I'm looking forward to trying my hand at tags. But until then, I will see you tomorrow, BookTube. Have a great evening.